Hey everyone, Andrew Henderson, Nomad Capitalist, day 4 of quarantine week here from my home in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Tea of the day, I'm having a different tea every day and I'm sharing with you Plak Vendome tea. Nice citrus fruits, and it's a green tea, really nice kind of east meets west kind of tea. So every day we're enjoying a different tea from my tea collection. We've got about 21 of them. Now actually we stocked up before they closed the shops here, and we're enjoying it here as we hang out and get some stuff done and stay inside. So what I want to talk about today is helping you understand how things are different all around the world. Last year we made the decision here at Nomad Capitalist because we had a lot of folks coming to us and asking for help from all over the world. But we were only able to super serve folks from a certain number of countries. We made the decision to go out and just blow our brains out and learn about a lot of new countries. Countries in Europe that we hadn't worked before. We've got folks right now from Russia and Poland and from Ukraine. We got to understand more about Middle East and North Africa, and we have folks from Egypt and Morocco and elsewhere now. And what's interesting is seeing the difference between folks from the West and seeing the folks from some of those countries that I mentioned, especially in a time like right now when there's a lot of chaos going on. What I see from those folks, and even from people that I know who are friends of mine in places like the Balkans, in Serbia and Montenegro, they are looking at this as another great opportunity to buy and to make a lot of progress with their businesses and with their money. No doubt what's happening right now with the coronavirus has reached everyone. No one is immune from the news, and I just saw the other day you have like the first case in some of the African countries which have been relatively immune. Certainly this is everywhere. What I do know is it's in some places more than it is in others. And the panic is more in some places than in others. What's interesting is I was sitting here when I just got to Kuala Lumpur for the year, late January, I think January 24th, and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm reading the news about how the very early days of airlines canceling flights to China. Like British Airways canceling flights to China. Wow, that's weird, right? Now obviously it's gone way beyond that. But back then it wasn't really a huge story. Obviously it wasn't as big of a virus, but a lot of people in China were hurting and no one was talking about it to the extent that it is today. When I talk to my friends from all over the world who are not in the West, they have a much more, I believe, level-headed view of this than if you turn on Fox News, if you turn on CNN, if you turn on ABC in Australia or whatever. Again, obviously, as I said yesterday, there is some reason to be fearful. You want to take some precautions, you want to be careful, but it's blown out of proportion. So that's the first part, is the extra panic in the West. The second part is the actual numbers on the ground. For the longest time I've been talking about going where you're treated best and going to places that aren't on everyone's radar. We've had several people who've come to us, including some ultra high net worth folks who have said, why I wanted to talk to you versus someone at the Big Four, for instance, was that you seemed to understand, like, what are the next places? What are the places that aren't really on people's radar, at least yet? And when I look at the places that we've talked about, these are places that have largely stayed off the coronavirus radar. The Colombias, the Montenegros, the Serbias. Malaysia has started to pick up now. Certainly it's in Asia. Malaysia, is a relatively liberal place, and so things got a little bit out of hand, but still not mass panic here. But the countries that we talk about, and there are others, the countries that we've talked about are the ones that have had less of an issue with this. Now, Montenegro obviously is a small country. Serbia is a small country, etc. But this, to me, is just another reason why you will want to avoid, or at least consider avoiding, the big, widely talked about countries, the big tourist destinations, the places that are deemed romantic but can't back it up. Now, I don't want to pick on folks who are suffering in some of these countries, particularly in Europe. But while the idea of moving to Italy may seem romantic, there's a lot of problems with that. You're going to pay half your income in taxes. You're not going to get all the services that you're used to in other Western countries or the conveniences. Some things are expensive. And now, you can't have any cash. Freedom is being reduced. And this is true of a lot of these countries in Western Europe. Oh, and now, because it's on this route where everyone goes through there, everyone wants to visit there, there's so many people filtering in and out, the health system perhaps wasn't adequately maintained. Now it's on the radar for the coronavirus. What's interesting about Italy in particular is I haven't been to Italy that many times, but every time I've flown into Italy, first time from the United States, the second time from Moldova, they're just waving everybody in. Come on in. The immigration people just sitting there, keep going, we don't feel like stamping you. And then when you leave Europe later, people will be like, how did you get in? Oh, I went through Italy. Italy. They never did. And, I think this is an opportunity to look at countries that are off the radar for the reasons of protecting yourself and your family, for the reasons that they don't have a brand to sell you that they can justify taking half of your money or eroding your freedoms. They're not part of any of these unholy alliances like the European Union that are getting around to restrict freedoms and all these things. They're not allowing just anyone to come in and cause problems. I feel like now is the time, if you haven't already, to establish a second home in terms of preferably something physical, an actual piece of property, or at least some land, as well as a second residence permit and or second passport in an off-the-radar place. When people come to me and they say, I'm from the United States, I'm from Canada, I want to get a passport in, let's say, Italy or France or Germany, I say, why? If you're planning on keeping that Tier A, passport, why not get something that complements it? Something that's off the radar. One thing that I love about Georgia, another country, by the way, Georgia, where they've done a pretty good job. They have a very small number of cases. It's been a priority for them to keep this in check. Georgia has great natural resources. You can grow your own food. They have so much fresh, clean water. There's a lot of good things going on in Georgia as a safe haven. And so if you were to establish some kind of residence in Georgia, it's certainly tougher now than it was a year ago. You can still buy property. You can still go there. Great tourist visa policy. The residence itself is harder. But if you did something in a place like Georgia or a Montenegro, for example, or a Colombia, those places are largely off the radar for a lot of these problems. South America in particular is not a bad place that, if some kind of war breaks out. When was the last time you heard about, the Colombians in some kind of world war? Or the Ni Vanuatu, or, whatever. Now's the time, I think, to establish that residence, establish that second home. If you can afford to do that, now would be the time. Because the United States, Italy, France, Spain, other countries like it are going to have more of these problems, whether it's having more of these health issues, whether it's having civil unrest, whether it's having whatever the problems may be. You're going to see more of that in those countries. There was a protest in Montenegro a couple of weeks ago about what the government's doing with taxes on church property. And people went out in force. And someone messaged me. They said, what's going on in Montenegro? Is there a buying opportunity right now? I said, no, people were just out just saying we don't agree with this. Nobody was hurling Molotov cocktails, as was the case during some of the banking crisis that you saw earlier in the last decade in other parts of Southern Europe. Now is the time, because these big brand name countries, not only do we talk about how they're not fitting of the brand name anymore, because there's so many places you can go. The United States is not the only country you can go to and make money, especially in this society of people making money online. I had a Moroccan guy makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. He's like 22 years old, right? Anyone can make money. You don't have to go to the United States to make money anymore. But there are also a lot of other places to go and make money. There are a lot of other places to go and be safe. And the ones that are the name brands are not only overpriced, overtaxed, too restrictive, but now you're seeing what happens when everyone wants to go there. they have problems. This is an opportunity to set up your second home that's away from it all. I'm not saying move outside of the United States. I'm not saying move outside of wherever it is that you live. I'm saying establish the infrastructure for yourself in your life. And right now, I can tell you, I feel incredibly secure, not only financially, but set that aside for a moment. But I have homes that are set up the way I need to work, that I feel comfortable in, that have everything that I need, where I can store food. I don't have to worry about a landlord kicking me out for whatever reason, or a hotel saying we're closing the place down, you got to get out. I do not have to scramble for anywhere to go because I've created over the last number of years an infrastructure of homes around the world. So wherever I may be, when something happens, I can go to one of those homes. And again, I often pair that with a residence permit or sometimes citizenship in the country. Sometimes getting the resident or buying the property can get you the residence of the citizenship. But I feel very secure for that reason. Not only secure, but comfortable, quite frankly, that my quality of life will not go down. And I know that, I see some people kind of around where I live that are here and they just snuck in as tourists before Malaysia stopped letting tourists in. And I can imagine it's far less comfortable and far less conducive to being productive or even staying healthy to be, in a state of transience. So that's something I want you to consider. As I've been saying, this situation and other situations like this are a wake-up call. They expose those who are prepared and those who are not. I want you to be prepared. I want you to establish and look for your safe haven that's off the radar and establish yourself in that country with the things that we talk about. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.